Howdy! Before you dive into this episode, I'd highly recommend that you watch The Matrix episodes 1 and 2, if for no other reason than to familiarize yourself with some of the terminology we'll be throwing around in this episode. And like the first two Matrix chapters, this episode deals with strumming. And after 30 some odd years of teaching, I've concluded that strong, relaxed, interesting strumming patterns are probably the single toughest concepts to teach to students of any skill level. So stick around and let's take a deep dive into the master pattern and how to master that pattern using the tap. So I've mentioned the master pattern in passing in some earlier episodes, but before we take a deep dive into the master pattern and the tap, let's review some concepts and terminology really quickly. The matrix is simply a consistent framework of alternating up and down strokes. Remember, do not break the strumming pattern. 2, ghosting is simply missing the strings on any given strum, even if you're still executing a stroke. And point number 3, an accent is a musical event which receives special emphasis by either playing that event louder or by making that event longer. Think about it for a second. A longer note or chord will carry more weight than a shorter one, right? Or we have a third option, doing both. So here's the master pattern. And notice that this is simply a straight matrix strumming sequence, but I'm ghosting the strokes on the and of 1 and on count 3. And remember, these chords are still ringing through the ghosted strum. This is really important. So don't stop strumming to let a chord ring out. It'll simply throw your stroke order off. And this is where things begin to get problematic. The ghost stroke on the and of 1 shouldn't be a problem because in reality it's the same as playing a quarter note on count 1. But ghosting a downstroke like the one on count 3 can be just plain disorienting. And this is simply because we're used to playing a heavier downstroke on the downbeats or the numbered counts. And ghosting on a downbeat feels like we're not doing anything. So how do we combat this disorientation? Well, we should give ourselves a task to take the place of the ghosted downstroke. So instead of trying to ghost the stroke on count 3, tap your pick guard. And this tap not only allows you to physically mark the ghosted stroke on count 3, but it also keeps you from strumming that downstroke. And this also ensures that the next upstroke, which does get played, is ready to go. And after you play this pattern with the tap for a bit, you should be able to forgo the tap altogether. And at this point, you're actually playing the master pattern. Now, we should also address the upstrokes which follow the ghosted strokes, regardless of the count, because this is where all the action is. Now, if you think about it, the upstroke before the ghost stroke on count 3 becomes very important because it kicks off a longer ghosted stroke, which introduces an agogic accent into the pattern. Likewise, the upstroke after the ghost stroke becomes very important because it's the next thing you hear after the longer ghosted stroke, and this upstroke introduces a dynamic accent to the pattern. Now, these accented upstrokes become so important simply because they occur on upstrokes or upbeats, the ands, which are considered to be the weak beats. And anytime we place accents on the weak beats, we cause syncopations to occur. If it helps, simply think of syncopations as misplaced accents. Now, without getting too technical, syncopations are those rhythms in jazz, rock, R&B, and bossa nova which make you want to move, dance, or just bop your head. So here's the raw matrix again. And here's the master pattern. And hopefully you can hear and feel those accents and syncopations. And also remember, my hand never stops moving. And all we have to do to make this upgrade to our strumming power is learn to manage the placement of our ghost strokes, or taps if necessary. We don't even really have to think about the accents because they begin to occur naturally as a result of the ghost strokes. However, there is one more thing we can do to add a bit more interest to our pattern. Okay, so whenever we play an accented upstroke, that is an upstroke which precedes a go stroke, give it a half strum. In other words, don't strum the entire chord. Simply let your pick strike the treble strings only, strings 1, 2, and 3. And several things are happening here. One, the weight of that half-strummed chord is reduced. However, since we're only hitting the high notes, this strum will cut through all the other strums and ring out like a bell. And this is because we're hitting the chord from the highest note down. Two, when you half-strum the treble strings, there's a tendency to flick your wrist upwards a bit to avoid the bass strings, and this flick automatically produces a dynamic accent. And three, the texture of your strumming pattern becomes multi-layered with differing types of accents, varying chord densities, and implied syncopations. Now, at this point, I have one final comment. When you begin to feel you can play the pattern somewhat consistently, try this. Close your eyes when you strum. Think about it. If we take our eyes and as a consequence our conscious thought out of the equation, we begin to stop thinking about the pattern and we learn to hear it and most importantly feel it. And this is when the pattern, the master pattern, truly becomes natural and becomes part of our very being. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're enjoying the channel's content. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you'll always know when a new episode drops, and feel free to leave comments or any suggestions for topics you might like to see in some future videos. Also, check out my other channel, Live from the Stairwell, and check out some 100% live, unplugged performances from, you guessed it, my back stairwell. Also, keep your eyes open for String 'em Up shorts where I address various good guitaring ideas in under a minute. Anyway, my name's David Holland, and thanks for watching String 'em Up. Have fun, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.